truly, like, it can't already be August. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that it is August. I know we just started August, but still. This month is going to be insane. Insanity. It's warm. It's hot. It's chock full of hot and warm video games. It's chock full of hot and warm topics. It's chock full of news. It's chock full of lots of things. My goodness. My goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. Welcome in, everybody. It is time to get started. We're going to do all kinds of lovely things today. We're going to absolutely have a blast right here on Dance Stream of Thought. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? How was your week? It's been 1 week since last we met. And I believe that y'all have things to talk to me about. 1 month closer to Link's Awakening. It's going to be good. It's going to be real solid, for sure. It's going to be real solid, for sure. We've got a few things to talk about. But first, did y'all see the Amara trailer today? The Borderlands 3 Amara character trailer? It was dope. It was super close. It was super awesome. That is the tune that I will be playing primarily at the beginning. I'm super excited for it. I'm super doped out to get that started. There's lots of things that have happened this week, and there's lots I want to talk about. As you may or may not know, today we are continuing part 2 of the evolution of your channel and career path. We talked a little bit. We talked a lot last week, but we talked about a very short amount of topics within that giant topic. So we will definitely continue that because, well, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot more than just the simply I'm going to watch. I'm gonna decide what my goals are. I'm gonna decide what things we have to move forward to, and then we're just gonna make it happen. That's just kind of, how it goes, right? You're a topic. No, you're a topic. A grand topic full of information. So, yes. So, since this is a part 2, I definitely want to take questions that you have maybe from last week. I definitely want to make sure that everything that's going on is something that you are comfortable with, because I know there was a bunch of information just kind of thrown out there. There's a bunch of information that gets thrown out there every week. However, I definitely like to make sure that all makes sense. So please, you're a towel. Somebody has a no you emote? Oh my goodness. Yes. Nice. I love it. Because, so, I mean, let's kind of recap. What did we talk about? We talked about, we talked a little bit about things happening with your streaming ideas and kind of how everything kind of evolves, whether or not it's forward or backward, you still do evolve. And if you don't, then there's a few options that kind of happen when there is no real evolution within something. Because, I mean, technically, you can be very stagnant and do absolutely nothing. That's very, very true. You can. And we talked about that a little bit. We talked a little bit about some of the ideas that you guys might have. In fact, I gave you guys homework. I don't know if anybody did their homework. Did you do your homework? Oh crap, you did. That's exactly what you want to hear. It's fine. The homework that we gave last week was to just kind of think of what you have for goals for your channel. Not like necessarily I want to grow to this amount of time, but also what makes success, and what are some of the goals that can get you there. So I asked you kind of go around, look at some channels, look at your own channel, and start to decide what makes them successful, what makes something successful, what is the definition of success within that realm. Because obviously, if I ask you, hey, go home and define the success, that's like, those are the teachers that I always felt were the laziest. Oh, I need you to go write an essay defining success. I mean, yeah, it's a good way to get smart people to, like the hyper intelligent, to kind of have some major discourse within themselves and write a whole paper on it, but it really doesn't leave room for everybody else to just say, success is when I make a bunch of money. Because I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? It's like, if you just define what success is, I mean, it could be as broad or as simple as anything, really. It's such a wide open question. And when I was in school, when I was learning a lot of things amongst communication and amongst how people ask questions, a lot of interviewing. I studied interviewing pretty deeply and trying to get an ethnographic look on a lot of things, which was always very difficult. That was one of the hardest parts. I have it's probably in one of my backpacks somewhere, because I usually always keep the book with me, but there's a ethnography book that is like, it's seriously like 80 pages long. It's really not long, but it is the book that took me the longest to get through, because you basically read a chapter and you go, what the heck did I just read? It makes no sense, but it is extreme, because it's chock full of ideology and being able to look at things outside of yourself, even if you are looking at it within yourself. So there's a lot of topics that I bring up from ethnography and from, you know, a lot of culture speaking to each other, a lot of taking things from a perspective that may or may not be your own, but also your own, because it's impossible to take something from somebody else's perspective. I don't know if anybody's ever heard the, what's it called? Saying? Is it a saying? I guess it's a saying. I guess it would be a saying.
What do you mean you hate jazz?
Just means that when I listen to it, I don't like it.
Yeah, but it's such a blanket statement you don't like jazz.
Sorry, I'm reading things from Broad Brassu, Slasher, aka Slasher on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff. Because he's actually talking about some cool stuff. Well, we're gonna get into that a little bit too this week. About the whole gun violence in video games and stuff like that. Because there's something to talk about within the topic. We're not going to talk about the topic on itself. We're going to talk about something within the topic, the communicative aspect within the topic. So I was a little distracted there. But if has anybody heard the saying, walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, or walk a mile in that person's shoes, when you're talking to somebody that basically just doesn't seem like they understand that person's perspective? You guys have heard that, right? Do I surprise you by saying that that's impossible? And that saying makes absolutely no sense? It's literally not possible. It is absolutely not possible to walk in somebody else's shoes. Because, and let's explain that a little bit. Walk a mile in my footsteps. Yeah, that's another way of saying that, yeah. You cannot do that. Somebody else cannot do that. It's not possible. It's absolutely not possible, because the moment you put those other person's shoes on and you take a step, you have thus created your own path. You are making your own journey. You may be wearing somebody else's shoes, but the moment you take that first step, you have thus made your first step into your own version of that. And that goes a long way for a lot of these things we talk about. And it goes a long way with a lot of the major aspects of, let's say we're going to, you have never been poor in your entire life. Okay, well, I want you to take this poor person that has lived their entire life without money, without wealth, without property, without anything. Just live in their shoes for a little bit. What happens? Well, maybe you know how to make money. Maybe you understand what it's like to be not necessarily be poor, but maybe you know what it's like to earn something outside of or take advantage of people, take advantage of certain things that does give you an advantage in monetary value, right? Maybe you know those things. Maybe you take that and you understand, hey, I'm gonna go do something, and I'm gonna step over a bunch of other people to then get money. Maybe the first thing that you do when you're in that, when you have all your money stripped away from you and all your resources stripped away from you, you're put in this household with a bunch of people living in it because it's the only thing that can be afforded, and maybe you use that opportunity to thus create a business that ruins everything around you, but it makes you money, right? Without understanding that you've thus done absolutely zero in trying to understand what that person is going through. You've done nothing. You have like that is like the opposite of what that person goes through every day, because you don't know that that person doesn't know how to do that and that chose not to do something like that. You don't know that. There's a good chance that that person knows how to take advantage of all the people around them, and they're able to say, hey, I'm not going to do that because I don't feel that that's right, and I don't feel that that's something I would do, and I don't like, so I'm going to live my life in a way that helps the people around me, even if it's a detriment to myself. Granted that neither one is right or wrong, necessarily, but that is you taking that whole saying and basically saying that we've proven it to be wrong in a way, or to be not really an applicable type thing. So that's sort of that saying kind of flipped on its head. So that leads me to asking the question, what makes somebody, what do you think made somebody successful? What happened this week in news that I think happened, did it happen on Monday or Sunday? When did Ninja move over to Mixer? That was after our last show, right? I believe so. It has not been that long. I believe it was like this week, because today's Tuesday. Oh, maybe not this week. Maybe the end of last week. Was it Friday? Yeah, Friday. Okay, so it was after our show. So we had not talked about it. What do you think makes Ninja successful? What do you think he defines as success? That's a different question, but still. What do you think makes that person successful? You can blame it on, you can chalk it up to a lot of different things, right? You could chalk it up to him playing Fortnite, but tons of other people played Fortnite the same amount and the same time he did. Some people were even bigger than he was playing Fortnite. At that point in time, you had several streamers who were concurring like at least twice, if not 3 times as many concurrent viewers as he had, and they were doing the same things he was doing. Not necessarily the same way, obviously. That's not really what made that success, but they're doing the same thing. So we can't use that. Were they working as hard as he was? Maybe not. Were they talking to the same people? Maybe not. Were they communicating within their peer groups? Maybe not. Was there a little bit of luck involved? Maybe not. I mean, that also depends on whether or not you believe in luck or define luck a certain way. Enthusiasm? That's what makes them successful. That's what makes successful. Enthusiasm about the thing you're doing. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that would agree with that. Are you successful about the thing that you are doing as a profession, or as the thing that you're, whatever it might be, because you can be successful at many other things, right? Other than just your profession. So yeah, possibly. Success comes with a combination of hard work, networking, and being able to go when you happen to get lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. Sure. So what's the word? Opportunist, to be able to take advantage of opportunity. August 1? Yeah, okay, so about 5 days ago. Yeah, so about, August 1 is Thursday. So Friday was probably his first stream. It's all of the above, right? I mean, no, not necessarily. And yes, at the same time. So the purpose that I ask in questions, like I'm not remember that this show is very much not about giving you the right or wrong answers, right? Well, there are wrong answers, but somebody else may see them as right. The purpose of the show is never to. You're not going to come here and say, "Oh, I'm going to learn how to stream by watching this show. I'm going to learn exactly what I need to do every single day by watching this show." No, that's why you watch other shows like like Stream Scene. Stream Scene gives you the most up-to-date news and stuff like that, be able to talk about those things. But that's also why you watch the Stream Doctor, to learn exactly what those people are doing right and wrong. That's why you watch, Ask Broman and ask Broman questions about what he's doing and how he does it. The Money podcast with Dan Giesling, and he interviews people and he gets to see how they do it and stuff like that. But the purpose of this show is very much to get you to ask questions about yourself and what it is that makes you and makes professionalism fit within your means and your needs and your abilities, right? We focus it around a general theme of what makes a professional, but we also focus it around the secondary theme. How do you fit into that professionalism? And the secondary theme, in my opinion, obviously takes, in a lot of times, takes precedent to the others, but for the most part, we try to generalize it around a theme that anybody can kind of get into. And as much as this is not a self-help group, I very much think that, or a help group, a support group, I mean, inherently it kind of becomes a support group. That's not really the purpose. So it's more of a teaching yourself how to learn about yourself, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? To me, there are no right or wrong answers to success because everyone has their own ideals and goals. Right or wrong? Yeah, of course. But that's why I ask you. So I ask these questions because I don't really, in the end, it doesn't really matter what you say, right? Let's be honest. It's not that I don't care about what you say. I very much care about what you say, but it doesn't really matter. I got some sexy LaCroix. LaCroix? 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 LaCroix. I don't know what it's called. Anyway. I was hoping you'd say you don't care. I mean, in a way, I don't really care what you say, but I care that you thought about it, and I care that you took the time to get this exercise in, right? Because that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter what you think is success. It really doesn't. Not to me, at least. To you, it very much does, and it should. It 100% should matter. What you say is what makes success. What I want to hear from you, basically all the time, is that you actually thought about it. That you actually have things that, that you actually have ideas that get your brain moving towards a direction that makes sense for you, right? Feels unappreciated. Yeah, unappreciated is the correct term there. I totally don't appreciate anybody. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it all. That's the thing. I appreciate everything. I appreciate the action of you doing something, because actions speak 10 times louder than words. Almost always. Right? You give me the right answer, it doesn't matter. You look at, like, I don't know if anybody here is in university or high school or what have you, but, or anybody listening to this in the future, and maybe you've thought about it in the past. Unless you're in a math class, unless you're in a class that actually needs the right answer, and even then, even if you don't need to get the right answer, the professor's never going to be really, or the teacher or what have you, is never going to be really impressed by the fact that you have the right answer all the time. Not really. Granted, unless it's like a weird off the wall, you always have the right answer and you always do it faster than everybody else. That would probably be interesting to somebody. I don't know if they'd be impressed. I think most good teachers are more impressed with the people that actually try to get that answer and that they show that they're doing the absolute best that they possibly can and work. They're putting forth that work and showing a enthusiasm, brought that back up, enthusiasm towards getting that answer. Or maybe you ask the question, why does that have to be the right answer when everything I did was right? And everything I did actually makes sense in the scope of what we're talking about, right? So let's actually take that. Let's break that down. Let's go back to talking about this ninja thing, right? Now, it's a little bit different in a business where numbers are very important to making money, right? Numbers are extremely important into being able to be successful in your career for a lot of people. Obviously, that definition changes from person to person, as we were just talking about, but it's very important to point out that Ninja is famous because of how many people follow him and how many people subscribe to him and how many people watch him daily, right? That's what makes him famous. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that say to him, that what makes me successful is how many people are watching me every single day and how many people are subscribing to me every single day, right? So in a business where that is very much the definition of success in a very much broader way, or at least in a with different minor definitions behind it all the time, it's hard to talk about, well, that person's doing everything right, so I appreciate that person. Even if that person is not necessarily successful, quote unquote. And I put that in like a general term of like, this is the person that gains a lot of money every day, right? There's tons of people that do the same thing he does. Do you appreciate that? Or do you say that, oh, because there's no results, it doesn't really matter? You also have to learn how to necessarily define whether or not it's genuine, which is hard. That's one of the hardest things, especially in a business where everybody's kind of trying to dupe everybody. You know, the art of a lot of people's forefront is to say, I'm going to trick you into liking something, whether or not it's actually good or not. There's a lot of people that make good content and they're not tricking people, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that don't necessarily feel like they can make good content, so they try to trick everybody into thinking that they can. Both get very similar results. Some have longer lasting effects, but they get similar results, right? Clickbait's a good example, yeah. Tricking somebody into thinking something's interesting when it may or may not be at all. But that's still, like, it works, right? So it gives you the same success rate, even if it is not genuine or not, right? So there's a lot of people in this industry, a lot of professionals in this industry that look at the people that actually do things correctly and they give them a chance, right? For example, there are sponsors out there that sponsor smaller channels all the time, that actually give them real sponsorships and pay them to stream certain content. Why? Because they know they're going to get a good product out of it. It may not get a ton of clicks or views, but they will pay them accordingly. And they may even pay them more if they know they're doing it in the way that they think that is good and powerful and positive. Because who knows, maybe that person blows up a lot later because, well, you're willing to bet a big chunk of whatever you're doing on that because they're doing it right, you know? They're doing it in a way that makes sense, that is actually proper. Same thing when it comes to a teacher, right? If they see somebody working their butt off and still getting their answers wrong, or maybe they get not as many answers wrong as how much work they're putting into it. As a teacher, you probably see the idea of, I'm going to help that person. Maybe a little bit more than everybody else for a little bit. Maybe they've earned that from me. Because I know that if they're going to work on something and they're going to work very hard at it, and they're just getting it wrong, either couple things, either they're getting only a few things wrong that gets the answer wrong, which same thing in a streaming world. Maybe you're doing a few things wrong that doesn't give you the success that you want. Maybe you don't stick to a schedule, but you're a very entertaining stream. So there's a lot of people that love your channel and love your broadcast, but just don't know when to catch you sometimes, or aren't able to catch you all the time, you know? Or maybe you're somebody that has no social media presence, but you've created a great following on Twitch because it seems to be something that does well for you and people just find you. Getting that maximum potential is often what a lot of people define as success. For me personally, having the maximum potential of being able to do well no matter what platform I'm posting to, as long as I cater it towards that, basically, success to me is actually being able to utilize each platform very nicely and very well, or appropriately, and having it show results. That seems to be pretty successful for me. I think I like that a lot. To be able to show that and say, this is what success is, and this is what we like to see as success. I mean, it goes in a million different lights, right? Took a philosophy class with one dude who says, Kumatori says, took a philosophy class with one dude who just could not handle how abstract the subject was, and every answer he said was right. It was a great time. Yeah, that seems to be the way a lot of philosophy students tend to kind of miss the point. Granted, at the same time, philosophy is the study of what's right. Trust me, there's one in the other room who is a philosophy student. Yep, that one, Nave. Their study is like the study of philosophy is to kind of the pursuit of what's right. Or what's true. Sorry, what's true. But often people equate right to be true. But a lot of people do equate those things in a very good way. Now let me say that. I know that sounds very like contrary to what I was just talking about, but let me paint that a little bit of a better picture. If you're always constantly moving towards what's true, you're probably never going to say anything is right. However, you can talk about methods that are right. You can talk about what seems to be more right than another, what seems to be more likely than another. What seems to be somebody that says there is a truth out there, even if people have different truths. This is the part where we argue all the time, where I talk about how everybody has their own truth because of their perspective and their perception of life and their perception of the world around them, even if they may or may not be totally accurate in what they're talking about or what they're seeing. It's just their perception. They have their own truth. When a philosopher may came out of the corner and say, well, there is one exact truth to that. It's like, well, yeah, I don't deny that. I don't think anybody denies that. There is a truth. There is one thing that actually happened. But how much does that matter? That is my question that I always ask. And that's the question that I think that can be asked of really anything. How much does that matter? How much of what actually happened within that situation actually matters? It's the the timely question, or the time-old question, that if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? My question to that is, why does that matter? What purpose does that question actually serve? Because if nobody saw it, what does it matter? If nobody was there, what does it matter? What does it do? There's probably animals and creatures around there, but that's not part of the question. We're talking about if nothing was there, why does it matter? Did it affect the forest later? Did that falling tree did that have like rot that spread out when it just landed on the ground? Did it create a domino effect that broke a bunch of trees down and ruined a giant chunk of the rainforest? Is that what happened? That's the question that it's meant to go out. It doesn't mean that it's a bad question, but that's the question I think it was sort of meant to envelop, right? You to ask more questions about what happens. And this is where I look at things this way. It's like if that question pops up and that you want me to just say yes or no, you have thus you've not asked the question with what I think is fair consequences, or fair not consequences, but fair expectations. If you really wanted me to say yes or no, you had some ulterior motive behind what you were asking, because it was conceptual or rhetorical in a way, or it was just unfair because that answer is not. There's no correct answer to that, right? Well, the correct answer is yes, it does make sound because of physics, but that part really doesn't matter. We're not talking about physics here. It's obvious that tree made a sound when it fell. But then why would you ask the question if it's that obvious? It's because there's more to it, right? You're asking your questions around a bunch of things. What is sound? Sound is the movement of airwaves when something actually falls. When something actually makes a vibration in the air. On this planet Earth, if something were to fall and crash into something else and move the air particles around it, we know and are able to prove through a mathematical proof, that it does make sound. That's what I mean by obvious. It's got pretty heady. It's kind of where we go. However, this is exactly why I want you guys to ask questions, because I need you all to slow me down, or else I just go crazy. And if you're listening to this later, please come to a live show, right here on twitch.tv/StreamerSquare. Come to a live show and ask these questions. Slow me down, because or else I just go out of nowhere. What is sound? Does it occur regardless of whether someone can perceive it? Yes, it does. We know this by proof of physics. We do. It does. Does it ring true to a person? No, not necessarily. Can it? If somebody's, I mean, it depends on their perspective of physics, right? Am I thinking about physics? Does physics actually matter to the context around it? Because then we have to develop context. What is context? Context is something that revolves a certain point in topic, right? Something that that changes the perception of how somebody is thinking based on the clues and ideas around what is being spoken about, right? So let's define context. Context comes in many different ways. So let's bring it back to the tree falling in the woods. Does a tree make sound when it falls in the woods under the context of nobody is there? Not necessarily. Because under the context of nobody's there, what actually is sound? I mean, to go back to what that one name is asking in chat, what is sound? Sound to the context of a person being there or not is the perception of somebody hearing something, right? But in the context of, let's put it in a physics class, in a space which is in a classroom talking about physics, or somebody that actually wants to measure whether or not sound can change the environment around it, then yeah, the answer is yes. It's going to make sound. And then when you talk about philosophy pursuing truth, well, that goes the same way. This is all philosophical in a sense, or actually that very much is philosophical. You talk about perception in a lot of ways and how everybody has a different truth, because in a philosophical method, you need to probably, if you're going to write everything down, let's say you're Plato and you're actually making logs to tell a story later, you may not need to talk about the fact that it does actually make sound, but you still want to keep that in note. You want to put that in the back of your mind that says, okay, it actually did make sound because of physics and how it works. But do I need to talk about that in the context of, I want to tell a social story based around the question, if a tree falls in the woods, does it make any sound? No. Maybe not. Maybe, sure. I don't know. Depends. Depends on what story you're telling. What story Plato is telling. Right? It all comes down to that. So when we talk about how this is developed for streaming and video games and all of this, what exactly are we attempting to get at? What exactly are we asking? Well, we're asking about success. Let's bring it back to the evolution of your channel and in your career. We talk about what makes success. So if a bunch of things go down and says, oh, this person is successful because they gained this sponsorship and I didn't, so they're thus more successful than I am. Who's to say that that sponsorship is actually going to help them? Who's to say that that sponsorship did not come from the fact that they spoke to somebody and you didn't? Who's to say that that sponsorship won't happen for you based on your actions? Who's to say that any of this is true? Well, nothing really. Like, it comes down to, like, I don't want to say that success is meaningless. I don't want to break down that sense of notion and say no matter what's going on, success is absolutely nothing. It means nothing. No, it's not true, right? It's absolutely not true. What success is, it's whatever you define it to be. But it's also, to somebody, there may be no such thing as success. And that doesn't mean that they've given up on life. It doesn't mean that they've necessarily said, well, I don't think there's anything as success because I can't have it. They may just be able to perceive no such version of what success might be. They may be able to say that, oh, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Do I consider that successful? Not necessarily. By the way, I don't smoke any weed. I just want you guys to know that. This is just how my brain works at all times of the day. I mean, you know, do what you want. I'm not against it, but holy heck. I'm going all over the place, and I apologize. It probably has to do with the fact that I haven't eaten today. But it all does funnel down to what exactly becomes the evolution of your channel. And the evolution of your channel comes in many, many millions of different ways. This is also why you can't keep the Hunter Wild and myself in one room for too long, because we tend to forget that there's anybody else in the room, and we tend to talk about things that are so beyond, I think, the realm of what makes sense to anybody anymore, that we don't even make sense to each other anymore, but we still understand each other on a certain level. It's weird. It's weird. It happened recently too. We were talking about something, and we were so off on a weird topic that I had no idea how we got there anymore. But I know that everything that we've talked about made sense to that point. I had no idea that we were talking. Nobody else had an idea that we were talking about consciousness and philosophers being right and wrong, but also being wrong and right at the same time. That's just how. Don't put us in the same room for too long. Also, don't keep us away from each other for too long, because I think we'll both start freaking out. Okay, so I've successfully lost where the heck I was going because of that long drawn out thing. So let's go to the book. The book, Twitch: Creating, Growing, and Monetizing Your Live Stream by Dan Otage and Saber AP. We talked about a few things actually last week, like success and like what it means to advance and to digress, but how both things definitely come back to what it is. They're both evolutions of a sort. And it all came down to talking about success, which is exactly why I put it that way. Defining success. It's literally the first paragraph outside of the introduction, defining success. So we really didn't get that far into this chapter, to be honest. But you can define success in whatever way that you want. Like, obviously, it's not meant to. The homework that we put out there last week was not meant to get an answer, but it wasn't also meant to just have you sit back and just say, oh, success is getting a this, and whatever, I'm not going to think about it. It was actually a thinking exercise, and it was meant to get you further into your own consciousness of understanding what it is that you actually want out of something. Because there's a lot of, you'll go to a lot of panels this TwitchCon, and there were a lot of people talking about, oh, just be you, or be the best version of you, or work hard, or be the best that you can possibly be, or stop saying I'm going to do it and just do it. Because by no means is there anything that says you even know what it is that you want to do. So these thinking exercises are meant to get you to start getting closer to that. You may not get to that point, but getting closer to it, right? Getting to a point where you understand what it is that you actually want. And hopefully these exercises will strengthen your mind in that way and actually allow you to lift the big, like, think about it, going to the gym. You want to strengthen your mind in the way that says, I'm going to lift the idea so that I know it's there, and I'm going to throw it as far as I can and see if it sticks to the wall or something like that, right? But there's no just do it, right? There is, like, you can have the greatest idea in your head and just be lazy about it. So you can just do it, but by no means is that what's that's not what's holding everybody back. So yeah, panels like that tend to give me a little bit of a, well, you said nothing to me kind of feel. Even though you did, because there are some people that it did touch home with. There's a lot of people where it touches home and says, okay, maybe I should just get off my ass and do the thing that I've been wanting to do for a while. But then for the majority of people, I would say more often than not, it comes down to, I don't actually know what it is that I want to do. And it's not because they're stupid. It's not because they're dumb. It's not because they're non-creative. It's not because they're not driven. It's sometimes because you just haven't been put in the right position to think about what it is that you actually want to think about. To think about it in a way that is deep and actually convincing to yourself that that's what you actually want to do. So that's what the purpose of that exercise is for. Go to some streams and try to think about what made them successful. And then figure it out. right? Figure it out what it is that may have made them successful. But the big thing that I said last week was, don't think about it and don't think about it in a way that you can do exactly the same thing. Think about it in a way that says, oh, this person is doing A, so I'm gonna do A, but A is gonna become B because B is something that I thought up while I was thinking about what they were doing. So let's break that down. That's just the mathematical equation. So that makes absolutely no sense to a lot of people. So I see somebody doing a certain thing on their stream. I could take that and use that myself, but to me or to whoever's watching, I may just be thinking about to myself that I'm just doing what somebody else has done, and it may or may not work. Or let's see, a concept of I'm gonna post clips from my stream. I'm gonna post clips from my stream on Instagram and Twitter, because what does that do? That allows people on my followers on Instagram and Twitter, and possibly even getting more followers. It allows them to see that what they've missed and possibly say, oh, I definitely want to go check that out again. So it's a reminder that I was streaming the day before, right? But what you can do differently is you can clip whatever the hell you want on that stream. You can make it a boring clip, or what others may think is boring, but it may or may not have something in there, like a conversation you had with your stream, some of your viewers that said, that the message you sending that out is saying, I interact with my streamers. It's just a conversation you had. Oh, hey, how was your day? Oh, yeah, that sounds good. You had lunch today? Okay, cool. You had lunch. Good. I didn't have lunch today. I want to have lunch. Blah, blah, blah. The fact that you're talking to your stream may not be super entertaining to somebody who's never seen your stream. May not get them to just come in based on the entertainment that they got out of watching that clip. Maybe that clip is absolutely the most boring clip anybody's ever seen in their life. But if that's the stream that you want, and you want people to know that you interact with your stream, and you talk to your chat, and you actually get to know them, and you get something out there, that might be the perfect clip for you to send out. Because what does that say? That says that, well, to anybody that just wants to have a home somewhere, because that's a lot of people on Twitch, they just want to have a home that they can sit in a channel and get to be known and get to know the people around them and get to know their streamer and actually feel like they've been heard. There's lots of people that want that, so maybe that's the perfect clip to go out there and do something like that. You know? Or maybe it is that you are doing you're pulling off some really elite plays in, what's the current game? Asteroids. And you're saying, like, hey, I did this really elite play. I want you guys, if you guys like elite plays, come be elite with me and be uber awesome and stuff like that. Maybe that's the clip you put out. Or maybe you just finished a big build in Minecraft and you're just like, oh, I want to show off this house. So I pull back and I look at it, but you're also like one of those guys that is super goofy and just runs and falls into a hole because you don't pay attention to the things that's going on. So you post a clip of you getting out of a really interesting place and then falling and dying. So that's the clip that you put out, right? Maybe that's what makes you successful. Maybe that's the thing that you change about it. So my purpose of saying all this is that you could do exactly what somebody else does, but you can send an entirely different message doing it, right? A whole different message actually putting that out there. And that goes into why you're doing it. Am I doing it just to be successful? You're probably going to get it wrong. Just probably going to get it wrong. If you have no thought into what you're doing, exactly why you're doing it, you're probably going to get it wrong. But if you do the method in a way that you feel is more beneficial to you, you might actually get it right. You're probably going to get it right. If you do the thing, there is no guarantee that it'll be successful from it. Yes, precisely. The just do it part is to get the wheels start moving. That's the point of that, not for success or end goals. It's at least to get people to try and get out of bed. Sure, but what does it mean? Are you saying that people wouldn't think about it anyway? Are you saying that people don't say that to themselves anyway? If somebody that just says just do it, do you think that's really motivational to a large audience? I guarantee 90% of the people in that audience that hear just do it, it's like, well, I'm already trying it, man. I'm already doing it. What are you trying? What do you want me to just do? That's what I hear. And that's what I think I heard for a long time trying to get my stream going 4.5 years ago. People would say, just do it. And I'm like, I am doing it. At least I think I am. What does that mean? It doesn't really mean much to somebody, right? Just do it. Do what? Do what? I don't know what that. Just do what? That is exactly where you are. Is the point zero. Point zero is the actually what. It's like I was gonna do it anyway. Or maybe you're not doing it yet, but you know you have to do it. Just do what? Because we're also in a realm now where you can't just start streaming and just doing it without any type of preparation. You can't do that anymore. It doesn't work. We live in we now are in a established world of entertainment to where if you just start doing something like that, there's nothing that says that somebody's gonna find you. Now, if you want to do it to start to get practice and to start learning about what it is that you can start doing later, sure, you can do that. But you better treat that and put in your head that this is a learning experience right now, and I'm not doing this to automatically get successful, because that's how people get burnt out. That is where burnout comes from. Very, very, very often is I just started doing it and it's not going anywhere for 3 months now, so I guess I'm just gonna stop doing it. Right? That doesn't go anywhere. Absolutely just doesn't go anywhere. Just not overthink it. Don't get anxious. Don't think your ideas are stupid. Don't think competition will stop you. That's it, at least from my perspective. I totally appreciate that. But remember, that's what you placed in there. That's not what Just Do It placed in there. You placed that in there. You did the work to tell yourself that. Give yourself more credit for that. You did all that. You put all those things in that concept. You created the context around it. Just do it. The person saying it didn't necessarily. So give yourself a lot more credit for that. Then everyone goes at their own pace. Yeah, so anybody can go at their own pace. That's absolutely not at all should be unsaid. Everything can go at their own pace. But it does matter what mindset you're in during that pace. Because if you're going at what you believe to be a slow and methodical and thought out pace, but you're actually expecting like a slow growth, like you're like, oh, I'm gonna get 1 viewer today, I'm gonna get 2 viewers in a week, I'm gonna get 5 viewers in a week after that, but you're going at like a pace that says I'm just learning and feeling it all out, and you're expecting the other thing. That's how people get burnt out all the time. Because it may seem reasonable to you. It seemed reasonable to me for a long time. I started streaming to actually learn how to do it. I started streaming to actually learn what streaming actually was during the idea of I wanted to grow a community. So I had one expectation, but I had a different method that didn't really match up with it. And it's very frustrated for a long time. And then quickly, I was very lucky to say quickly, I learned that you can't have both of those things, and you have to kind of focus it in a different realm. So I'm going to start researching. I'm going to speed up my learning process by researching and watching other people and taking notes on what they're doing and listening to other people giving me advice and all these other things. So then I can turn all those and flip those all around and turn that into what I thought was a good broadcast and say, hey, I'm going to use all this. I'm going to use everything that was just said, and then I'm going to use that to grow my community. Right? But that's also why you watch shows like on StreamerSquare, and that's also why you learn those things, to speed up that learning process. There's nothing wrong with speeding up your learning process as long as you're doing it at a pace that you can fully understand. Does that all make sense? So, now that you've gone through and you've defined success from other people, now that you've gone through and said, well, I know what it is that made this person successful, and I know what it is that at least I think, right? I think that this person did this, this, and this, and that's why they are where they are today. Don't worry about the fact that may seem like those are simple things, and that means it's probably untrue, because wise people will understand that. If you're wise enough, or you're thinking about it enough, you'll understand that it's not that simple. And you probably do, which is why I guarantee some of the people that listened to last week's episode very much thought that I was just spitting out baloney, saying, "Oh, what the heck? What's this guy? What was the point of doing this?" Right? Oh, great. I get to think about what might make me successful. Great. All right, cool. Whatever. Maybe you thought that way. The purpose of that was to actually show you a starting point and to think about where you want to get started. That's why it was a thinking exercise. Think about what's going on so you can actually get started. What gets me there? Because I guarantee this, or your money back, not in the book on this show, I guarantee this, you will figure things out along the way. On your own. As long as you're working hard to do it. As long as you're following what steps you put in front of you, you will figure out things along the way. I promise you that. So, even if it does seem shallow to you and seems like, oh, it's just simple and I can't believe that something simple isn't working for me, just keep working on it. Keep doing what you think to be right. And ask questions about it. Ask whether or not what you're doing is successful. Maybe you have 2 viewers in your channel. Ask them. And they may give you answers like, well, I never really paid attention to that, but I just hear because I like the game you're playing. Maybe the thing you're doing isn't right. Maybe the thing you're doing can be improved. Or chalk it up to maybe that person just doesn't care about that part. But that's why you ask those questions, right? That's why you ask the questions to your channel and to the people watching. That's why you go and submit your channel to Stream Doctor. Quite honestly, that's a big... If you're not getting enough feedback from your channel and from the people that are watching you, ask other people to watch your channel. Even if it's somebody that doesn't have time, maybe doesn't have time, doesn't really watch your channel, but you know that they understand kind of this world a little bit. Maybe they don't understand the world, but they understand entertainment, right? You could just literally just ask them to watch 1 hour. Take an hour and put it in the background, just watch for a little bit. See if there was anything engaging there. Because if you can't get something done in an hour, you're missing something. An hour is a very long time to have something happen in a stream that gets people to watch. Oh, it's part of the Patreon? Okay. I haven't looked at that Patreon in a while. So you can go to the patreon.com/StreamerSquare and actually sign up for the tier that actually gets a personal review on your channel by either Hunter or Loco. Because that'll get you started too. Right? Those are people that you can guarantee that they're going to look at it, and you will guarantee that you get feedback on it. And that'll get you started, right? Because you can like the purpose of like a Patreon and something like that is to do it monthly, right? Do it monthly. Have somebody review your stream monthly. It might boost your ego if you're doing it right. It may not waste your time or years and years of your time by doing the thing that you could get advice one time and you can follow that advice. And there's so many different things to where that advice can become obsolete in a month. Either the climate around Twitch changes, which is possible. Maybe the game that you no longer have interest in is just gone. Maybe the game that you did have interest in is getting bigger, and instead of changing up your game once a month, you stick with that game for a little bit. Or anything. There's so many different things that can actually change within a month. So you do that monthly, and you get somebody to check in with you monthly and check that out. You get somebody to work with you as you grow and work with you as you don't grow. Right? Hey, let's give you something to do this month. All right, go do it. That person may not know it works or not. That person may know that it works for millions of other people, but doesn't work for you, right? Maybe you do something so unique that normal things don't actually work anymore, or not anymore, but don't work for you in your realm. So let's try this out. Go try this out for a month, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we try something else out. It's going back every single month and actually getting things to work on each other for that. Yeah, continuous feedback is awesome. It's just how it's You don't go to a coach once in a baseball game and say, "Oh, can you fix my swing?" Yeah, we'll do it in one session, no problem. Also in baseball, practice is exactly what makes perfect. Same thing goes on right here in Twitch. Practice is how you do it, right? There's so many times I'll tell you right now where I go away on vacation for a week, even though it's not really a vacation, but I go to like a trip or something. I go to like PAX for a week or something like that. And I come back, I'm like, oh, how do I do this again? And you just forget about what to do. Obviously, once you get back into it, you start to remember, but that's because of how much you practiced before, because maybe you have 3 years of experience of doing this. But let's pretend you have that feeling for your entire rest of your stream, and maybe the week of streams for that matter, because you haven't been practicing. You have to practice to get that muscle memory and that brain chemistry to actually flow in the way that you want it to. So many different ways, right? So, with that, do that. With that, you absolutely take that, hopefully take that advice and learn how to ask people, learn how to be critical about your own stream, because that's how you're going to evolve. That's how your channel is going to evolve, and your career path will evolve the more people you start to reach out to, the more you learn that maybe what you did wasn't the right way to do it. You know, obviously you might send out 1 million emails and they may all say the same thing, but you got 0 responses. Well, there's a couple things you could take from that. One, either nobody was responding, and everybody you talk to doesn't really respond to emails, or people only respond to certain emails, or what you said was just too much or too little and made them go, I don't know what to respond to this email. I don't have time to figure it out, so I got to move on, right? There's a couple stream scene episodes about that. In fact, I was on one of them. It was actually, I'll tell you right now, it was the stream scene episode right after the E3 block, the E3 stuff we did. That episode I was on right after. We wrapped it all up and we talked about how to reach out to certain people. And if you're doing something that community managers don't necessarily respond to, maybe you learn that by trying whatever you think is right. Maybe you actually get one response and learn that it's just a numbers game. And sometimes you just got to hit that right person. Maybe. But you don't actually get you don't get any of this information until you start like trying things and figuring it out by practicing it, right? So we can redefine the just do it to something like that, right? The just do it can come out and just say, well, whatever you thought you needed to do, try it. If it doesn't work, then you try to figure that out. But the moment you chalk it up to, this is all stupid, nobody's respond to this, they only respond to numbers. They only respond to people who have lots and lots of followers. I'll tell you right now, and from personal experience, it's absolutely not true. And sometimes you need to hear that from other people. Sometimes you need to actually hear that, you know? It's absolutely not true. But sometimes you have to be a little bit more creative than others, right? Because there are people out there that can just say, hey, let's meet. Granted, the people that are successful don't do that. That's probably one thing you'll learn. They don't do those. They don't just say simple things like, give me money. They actually talk about it in a professional manner, and that's what got them there, right? There's a lot of misconceptions amongst people who put successful people on a pedestal. There's a lot of misconceptions there and saying, oh, that person can do whatever the heck they want because they have large numbers and they're just, they get away with everything. When they don't understand that, like, most of those people are the most professional and nicest and most down-to-earth people that you've ever met or will ever meet or, have ever heard of. And they don't understand that maybe that's what got them there. Maybe they're light that they emit all the time and they attempt to do work in order to make somebody understand that they're, a really nice person and that people like working with them, that maybe that's what made them successful. Actors go through this all the time. People are so surprised to hear that Tom Cruise is actually a sweetheart. And people love working with him. Why are you surprised by that? if he wasn't a joy to be around, if he wasn't somebody that tons of people would want to work with, do you think he'd be where he was today? It's a huge misconception. Same thing goes with a lot of different people. There's tons of large broadcasters that I've had the pleasure of hanging out with, and without surprise, they're the greatest people in the world. So, take that and start to understand maybe those minor things. Maybe you go to a convention and maybe you don't necessarily think that you're a small streamer. Maybe you don't think that you're unsuccessful. Maybe you just don't even say that at all to yourself the entire time. You know? Obviously you don't want to be arrogant and say that, oh, I'm a big broadcaster. I'm going to pretend I'm a big broadcaster because that's what makes me good. But maybe you just don't even care about that and you put yourself out there in the best way that you possibly can. Maybe you go talk to these companies that are showing off their game and said, hey, I would love to stream your game. Because the moment you say, hey, I'm not very big, but like I'd love to see if we can work together and maybe get a key, that's the moment somebody goes, oh, yeah, give us an email. Because you go up to them with confidence and talk about, hey, I'd love to stream. Dude, this game is awesome. I absolutely love it. I'd love to put it on my channel. I think my community would love it. And we'd get along great, and maybe we could work something out later. That doesn't say anything about your viewership. Doesn't say anything about who follows you. But I'll tell you right now, people listening to that probably don't care at that point. Because they just got from you that you're a professional. They just got from you that you have an attitude that says you want to do something cool. Because that's really what they want. They may look at something later and go, oh, this person has 10 followers. Let's see what we can do. But that right there, let's see what we can do, because of their first impression of you, because their impression that you were actually professional to them, that gives them the urge and the want to maybe try to pull something for you. Maybe try to say, hey, let's give them a chance. Maybe try to understand that they may not be huge and large right now, but maybe later they might be. Maybe they come back to you and say, hey, we're just sorry, we can't really do anything right now with your followership, but please, like, contact us later when you start to grow. There's nothing wrong with that, because then they'll probably remember you versus them never ever meeting you again. Especially if you keep it up and continue to move forward. Then you start to evolve your channel and say, hey, I'm going to start learning more about this stuff. Or hey, maybe they do take a chance on you because they liked who you are, and you get some type of, bump from the fact that that somebody sees that and says, oh, this person has 10 viewers and they got early access to a game, or they got sponsorship from this game? How did they do that? I must watch. I've seen crazier stuff happen. I really have. Confidence is important in everything. Yeah, confidence helps a lot of people get through things. Confidence is something that I think eludes a lot of people when it comes to what exactly is confidence. But by no means does confidence get you everything, right? By no means does confidence say that, oh, I'm just going to get this because I'm confident. Because it's so easy to be so confident that you just come off as an arrogant butt, It's important to be confident but humble. And if you're shy, at least you make an effort to be forward in something. Like, you may be shy and you may be socially awkward, but you got to understand what makes you those things, right? What makes me shy? What makes me socially awkward? Well, I'm socially awkward because I don't know what to say all the time. I'm not a master with words. Then take your time. Think about the things that happen. Do what you need to do in order to make yourself comfortable so that they can be comfortable. If they don't have time for you, then you don't have time for them. Quite honestly. Simple as that. Obviously, you don't want to waste their time by saying, oh, let's talk about things that absolutely have no, direction as to us working together, or talk about a baseball game that the person never brought up or anything. But understanding and being able to read what's going on in a room based on whatever's happening is important. And it's also a practice skill too. You may not be confident in what's happening. You may make a fool of yourself in front of somebody. But you know what? You're probably going to learn from that. You're probably going to remember that later and say, oh, I remember doing this. I'm going to do something different this time. That should never say, I remember doing this. I'm never going to do that again. No, that should say, I remember doing this. I'm going to do it slightly differently this time. Would you say optimism is a better attitude than confidence? No. Well, not really. Optimism helps, but I'd say both of them are different. I would say that you can have a combination of the two rather than one or the other. Optimism helps because optimism that something will go well is helps your confidence, right? Because I think they go hand in hand in that realm. If I have optimism that I'm going to get this deal, then I'm gonna have more confidence in trying to get the deal. But maybe I don't have optimism in something, but I am confident that I can try to make something happen even if it's not the thing I want, right? So I'd say that one can be had without the other, but it shouldn't be. Like if I have fake confidence but no optimism, then you're probably going to maybe make something not work. But you can maybe you're really skilled at making things happen out of thin air, right? But let's say you are optimistic about something working, but you have no confidence in how to get it done. It's like, oh, I absolutely know that if this person just sees my stream, they'll absolutely know that they want to work with me. But I have no confidence in how I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know how I'm going to be able to show them that. That doesn't work either, right? Both of those together in a combination of the two. They don't have to be directly even, but a combination of the two and the way that works best for you is definitely, I would say, probably the best way to do it. Does that make sense? I hope so. So yeah, the reason I brought all that up was to say that let's actually start to take everything that you figured out from these other channels and to start. And you can do this again. We'll give the same homework out again. Go to some other channels. See what made them successful. See what you define as their success. And then figure out. Let's try to work together and make some goals as how you can start to get there. Right. So let's bring it back to posting on Instagram and Facebook and Twitch and all that, or Twitter and all that stuff. What are some of the goals you can start to put together for? I'm gonna start posting these things on there. Well, I'm going to find a tool. I'm going to find the best tool that I can have to be able to do that. Let's start researching. Okay, what are some tools for posting on Instagram? What are some tools to post on Twitter? Can I just post the video straight to there? Yeah, I can do that. Okay, well, let's say I do it manually, and I just figure I want to do it that way. Okay, what's my next goal? My next goal is how often am I going to do that? I don't know. Let's look at this person. What makes them successful and how often they post? Oh, that's like once a day, twice a day maybe. Right after their stream, during their stream. Right before their stream. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna do this once a day and right when I start my stream. Okay, what's the next piece? Oh, which clips am I gonna post? I'm only gonna post clips that fit within the realm that I choose, which is I want them to be positive and uplifting. I want them to be communicative towards my community. I want them to be me exuding confidence in the thing that I'm doing or being on camera. Start making those goals. Those goals can be like, don't just make them, I'm going to get to this many followers. You can definitely make that a goal. That way, when you achieve it, it's nice, but that doesn't really give you action, right? It gives you, it gives you results. So hopefully the results will just come in your actions you can actually control. Because you don't know. You don't know if the results are something that are going to get that far, right? You can probably look through some, they're probably old right now, but I was doing tweets for a while saying what my goals were this month. And they were never, I want to get to this many followers, or I want to get to this many subs. They were always, I'm going to stream at the same time every single day. Or I'm going to stream at the same time 6 days a week. Or I'm going to post a clip once a day. Right? just have those things happening. They just work out in the way that you absolutely have put towards an actionable goal. That's something you can attain as well. And what I mean by attain is something that doesn't necessarily revolve directly, or that does revolve directly around you, right? You gaining followers, absolutely, you can do things that give you the better chance to do that, but absolutely you cannot control that. You can only try to only make goals that you can control. And that might happen to be just to have a schedule. That might happen to be to just say, I'm going to post this time, this day, on these days, and on these days of the week or whatever, right? Something that you can actually control and know that you can do. Start making those goals around the pieces of success that you've made. So now you have a thinking process of, let's think about what makes these channels successful. How do we make these channels successful? What are the things that they've done to make these channels successful? It's broad because you can choose whatever it is that you want to define as that success. But also, let's start to put together goals as to how I can start to emulate that, right? How can I start to do something similar or exactly the same thing in my purpose, and whatever my purposes may show. For those of us that use mantras, what we suggest, a lot of the things you talk about are kind of complicated when you're trying to change your mindset. But I mean, sure. Like mantras. So, I mean, you know that one, Nate, that I don't understand mantras. So it's a little difficult. But I mean, what would you tell yourself? Tell yourself that whatever it is that you seek to do will happen. It may not happen then, but it will happen. And continue to tell yourself that. Because if you want something, if you want to get something, you can make it happen. And I fully believe in that. It may not be exactly how you see it right now, right here, but it will happen in a certain shape and form, whatever that might morph into later. But if you tell yourself over and over and over again, what I want to happen will happen, you will find a way to do it in some way, shape, or form. Right? Just don't make it something like I want to be the most famous person on Twitch. You can try that, and you may very well get very close if you keep telling yourself that. You may. But I don't want you to come short by being the second most famous streamer on Twitch and then saying, "Oh, damn, I'm a failure." You can. Some people say they do that all the time. I don't really think it's true, but they say they tell themselves that, and they get really famous that way, and that's how they live their life. But either way, I don't know if that is absolutely worth or viable. There's lots of people that talk about it that way. There's lots of successful people that say, I just told myself that I'm gonna be the best the whole time. It's like, well, you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and there's a good chance that you kind of went halfway insane during all that, which, whatever. Do things that are somewhat broad but attainable. Like I'm gonna get this sponsorship. Or I'm gonna get a hardware sponsorship. I'm gonna get a hardware sponsorship. I'm gonna get a hardware sponsorship. If I want to get a hardware sponsorship, I'm gonna get a hardware sponsorship. It's very broad still. So, putting yourself out there and maybe even refining that a little bit further. I'm gonna get a hardware sponsorship that I support or that I like. Right? You may be like this crazy super Razer fan. And maybe that's the only thing you like. But if that's what you want to go for, that's what you want to go for. Like, there's nothing stopping you with that. But let's say you're like me, when you like Razer, you like Corsair, you like Logitech, you like all kinds of hardware. And you say, I'm going to get a hardware sponsorship that I enjoy from a company that I enjoy. And if it happens to be any of those, then great. Good job. You did it. You have something that you can obtain. And that may be specific as a sponsorship. But maybe you get something where they send you a bunch of stuff to do a one-time sponsored broadcast or tweet or Instagram post. Hey man, you may not have a full sponsorship month to month, but you got a sponsorship and you achieved that goal. Right? Somebody said I have to suck less each day, but what does that mean? What does that mean? What does sucking less mean? So general. It doesn't. I don't think that gets you anything. Because then that just like makes you mad. And in fact, like I feel like that's almost detrimental to a lot of people. Oh, I'm gonna suck less today. Oh man, I sucked today. I did a thing that was sucky. Now I'm mad at myself. It's so broad that you can define almost anything you do that day as sucky. Right? But yeah, give yourself something specific that is that you've seen somebody do. I mean, it's basically that. Have you seen somebody do it? You know it's doable? Great, do it. Or maybe you've never seen somebody do it, but you think somebody can do it. Maybe that person might be you. Okay, try it out. You're thinking positive instead of negative? Yeah. I will work out today. Yes. Instead of I shouldn't be out of shape anymore. Precisely. I shouldn't be out of shape anymore is not an action. Sucking less, that's not an action. Right? Giving yourself an action. I'm going to email 5 community managers today. I'm going to email them in the best way that I possibly can. Everything should be in the best way you can possibly do it, by the way. So that should always be implied. But I'm going to email 5 CCs today and see if they'll respond to me. That's a great goal. That's a daily goal. It should be. It's a weekly goal or whatever. It's a goal that is repeatable. It's a repeatable quest, right? It could be a weekly quest. It could be a daily quest. It could be a quarterly quest. But that is a quest you can achieve and repeat. And then based on that, give yourself a bigger goal. Okay, I'm gonna send 5 emails out to 5 CCs. And I'm gonna get one of them at least to give me a key. And want me to play their game. It's a pretty easy goal, and I think you could do it. So start setting some goals. Start figuring out what kind of goals make sense to you. And then we'll pick this up more. Doing good? Next week. What are we doing next week? Let's pick something more broad than that. I like these broad topics. I know that they maybe get a little bit confusing. Success fuels more success. Well, that's true too. I don't want to talk about that either. What do I want to talk about next week? That's why I'm a big fan of setting small, achievable goals that yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, like something like I'm going to send 5 emails. That's super obtainable, and you can be successful at that without even doing it right. Right? You could do it completely wrong, but the fact that you did the quest, like you freaking got the quest done, you did it. Now, use that to get better at what that was. Okay, I did my quest of sending 5 emails. Okay, I'm going to do the next quest of sending those 5 emails out next week or to 5 different people, but I'm going to do it better than last time. They may still suck, but at least they're better. And you can repeat that quest over and over again and get better and better and better at it. Again, that practice. It's all practice, right? Twitch broadcasting and streaming is a practice. Creating art is a practice. I don't know. We'll figure out what we do next time. So next week, catch us right here on twitch.tv/StreamerSquare. Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to talk about more of this type of ideals and more of what we have going on in the idea of evolution and career path and being better at what you do. There's a podcast I've been listening to a little bit called Getting Better. Ron Funch is one of my favorite comedians and somebody I've been able to have good conversations with a few times. He does a podcast called Getting Better because he's getting better. What is he getting better at? Well, anything, something. So make that an overall general idea, not a goal, but an idea of getting better, and make goals that allow you to actually achieve those getting better, right? Okay, I'm gonna write 5 emails. I'm gonna get better at writing 5 more emails next time. That's maybe your idea within your goals. I've been listening to a lot of that, and that has helped putting people in the right mindset of I'm gonna get better, right? I'm going to do something that makes me better at something, right? I'm gonna play 2 hours of Apex today because I want to get better at it. I wasn't gonna play it today, but I'm gonna play it today because I want to get better at it. I'm gonna stream 3 days this week because I've been telling myself that streaming 3 days is definitely something I want to do. Okay, I'm gonna do that this week, and while I'm doing it, it may be exhausting, but I'm gonna focus on being better, my better self this whole time. Sound good? Okay, so let's get out of here. Again, you can catch all these shows later. They'll be available for you at any time. So if you missed the show, or maybe you didn't get to see the same show, or maybe you just wanted to listen to it again, you'll be able to do that. You definitely put questions in the Discord. Discord.gg/StreamerSquare. Follow us at StreamerSquare on Twitter and not Instagram, but Twitter. So follow us on Twitter. Follow all that stuff. Make sure you're following this channel so you see it next time. And then if you'd like to talk to me, I'm Danotage everywhere, right? Twitter.com/Danotage, Instagram.com, Twitch.com, YouTube.com, Twitch.tv, sorry, not .com. But you can follow me on all those things too. I'm always up for answering questions. This is the show where I get to focus on that, so you can ask me like questions directly and we can like dive deep into it. If you ask me on stream, I'll still answer the question, but it might be a little bit off the wall. But yeah, I'll be live tonight, probably a little bit later in a few hours or something like that, and we'll be playing some other games and stuff. So come hang out with us. I hope you guys had a good week. Week 9, the evolution of your channel and career, part 2. We'll be back next week doing more. That sound good? I hope so. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys next time. Remember, stay positive, play more games, and read more comics. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your time. Enjoy your day. Okay? Seriously, I hope that it's been good. So I'll catch you next time. Goodbye, everybody. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. Look at that. Cool. All right. I'll see you guys next time. See you, everybody. Bye.